So yeah, Michael, can we just get any injury updates or returns information, please?
Yeah, nothing new from the other day. Of Riley's not quite ready yet. I have to say, repeating what I said the other day, to have Darrow back around, forgetting where we are in the season and what's at stake, just to have him back, and he's put a lot of work in. There's been so many ups and downs. It's a long old slog for him. So just to have him around the group, training every day, smiling, feeling fit is for me, it's genuinely it's great to see. So it's nice to have him back around for his experience and his know-how, and he's around the dressing room, so that's a big push.
It is a big time for the dressing room after after the Sheffield loss. I imagine it was a hard time, but also looking ahead to Norwich, you're playing another team that's in a turbulent time. Is it fair to say that being ruthless will be the name of the game on Saturday?
It's now, and it's all on the line now. There's no getting away from it. Probably no other chances. This is it. But it's a chance, and I think after Sheffield Wednesday, the game of the disappointment of losing the game, but then actually realising that it's in our hands, and largely in our hands, and it's still that's where we find ourselves. So I think that disappointment turns to huge motivation and still excitement of what's possible. There's no getting away from that, and it's important we have that perspective. And the boys have, shown really good energy and positivity, and now it's something to look forward to. We've cleaned everything away, which is done. Put us in the position now where we are now, and what's ahead of us, then it gives you that buzz, it gives you that excitement, and it's where we want to be.
As you say, it is still in your hands. Given that and the teams you've played in the last few weeks, if you don't reach the playoffs, would it be fair to say the season's been an unsuccessful one?
Depends how you judge it, I think because as a team we've showed that we could, at certain times we can be really good, and we can be one of the better teams in the league. That gives expectation, that gives a lot of belief, but it's and then over time we maybe the consistency we haven't had, so it kind of your hopes are a little bit higher, but I think that's something you've got to live with. I don't necessarily think it's unsuccessful. I think it is what the league is, and I think history shows that over the last for 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years, it's difficult getting the playoffs. I'm guessing 3 times maybe. So it's that's the challenge we're facing. It's tough to be there, and we were close. We've been stable. We've been consistent. The last 2 years, one was in, one was just missed. Now we're still right in with a big chance of getting in there. So it depends how you look at it, really.
And on Saturday we're facing Jack Wilshere. The week after that, Frank Lampard, coupled with yourself, Scott Parker, Wayne Rooney to an extent. Why is it, do you think, that so many former England midfielders are now in the manager's dugout?
I don't know. Actually, it's difficult to answer. I think there's kind of waves in some ways for whatever reason within football in all sorts of different ways. Of whether it's trends in coaches, types of coaches, players, playing style, it goes and comes around a little bit. Maybe that's just the generation of the age that we've all been, and I don't know. It's a difficult one to say, but yeah, there's certainly a lot in and around my age group who I've kind of grown up with and played against that are giving it a go.
Cheers, Michael.
Just sticking with Jack Wilshere, right? More an opponent than a teammate. I know you work together now and then with England. I mean, presumably you know plenty about each other.
Yeah, to a point. Yeah, I think Jack was a fabulous footballer and very unlucky with injuries in terms of knowing about each other. What that brings coming into the game doesn't really give much in terms of what they're going to do on the weekend. Or pleased for him with the opportunity. That came his way, and after going through Arsenal in the under-18s and working his way up to that, credit to him for that. And so yeah, but yeah, going back to your question in terms of knowing each other to a point, yeah, I played against him, played with him for England, sometimes being in around him, but in terms of going into the game, that won't really have too much impact on it.
Does that make it a bit of an extra challenge at the weekend in such, because you won't have much to go on in, you'll have Norwich in previous games, but not necessarily the game plan that Jack will put out there?
Yeah, that's an added part of the game, really, is a challenge, and there's a bit to kind of figure out, a little bit, to be honest, a little bit of calculated guesswork of what we think might happen, and but there is a clean slate or a potential clean slate that we can do anything. Like I say every week, you know, teams can do a lot of things, and you try and plan and get an idea of it. So yeah, of course, that's what's in front of us, you know. But I think where we've approached it, and off the back of, you know, recent games, I think we want to be better at certain things, and carry on doing certain things that we've been good at. So I think for us, it's getting the balance right and getting the focus and knowing what we're good at and doing a bit more of that.
As you mentioned, it's a big part of the game. Obviously, you do it to opposition do it to you in terms of the analysis and preparing game plans based on the opposition. When you're at this club, and obviously you've tried to establish a clear, you know, kind of identity style, or however you want to put it, in terms of acknowledging that the opposition will be watching that and you know, trying to work out a game plan to beat you, how do you kind of find the balance of having that identifiable style but not swayed towards being too predictable?
Yeah, well, that's definitely, you know, we talked about, I think it was last week, about what helps you and hinders you, and we feel that recognising things and being comfortable with and understanding and where you are, what we're trying to do, rather than week to week changing, helps us in performance. The predictability, obviously, the key to it is we can have the same playing style, but you can be unpredictable in terms you can still have different strings to your bow and different strengths within that. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean that you just keep doing the same thing and always pass to the same player to attack, for instance. Or, you know, obviously that's why you've got a front line of varied positions and strengths and ways to attack. That's obviously that's the key to football, really. But we feel like the consistency helps us recognise the situation and the boys knowing what's coming and have pictures and be a step ahead of the game in some ways. But there's never a total right or a wrong way to do it. I think we have found a lot going into games that teams have changed quite a lot when they've played against us for different reasons. Some ways you take that as a compliment, but again, it comes round of it's up to them to kind of change and adapt how they want to do that. But it's definitely one that we've come across many times this year. And we've had to adapt and find different ways in game around that.
Yeah, I guess that, you know, the belief that it's still possible and you're still doing it right is, you know, you've taken the lead in a high number of games this season. I guess the frustration is that I think it's 10 games where you've scored the first goal, you haven't gone on to win. Is that too high, and do the team need to be a bit more ruthless when they get into that?
There's no getting away from it. It's far too high. I mean, normally in football, getting ahead is a big thing. First goal's a big thing. Historically, kind of has, and it'll continue to do that. And so that's, you know, not picking up them enough points is one thing. Putting ourselves and having that many times where we're in a position shows that there's a lot of good things and there's a lot of positives to take. It's how we deal with it, how we deal with in game, how we deal with going in front, whatever it may be. But I think there's no getting away from it. We got to hold on to them good things, and like I said a couple of questions ago, we got to do more of it for longer. Really.
Just to cut on the injury, I know you've mentioned Carrick coming back in a big moment for him. Would the likes of Alex Bangura and Sol Bryn, who have had a period out, have they got any chance of following in Darrag's footsteps?
No, they'll be a little bit further. It's great news on Alex, actually. He's just joined in for the first time with the boys this week on the grass, so very lightly, and he's still managing him a lot, but just to have him back around the group was fantastic. You know, it's been a long journey for him, as well as Dara, and Sol's been back on the grass for a bit of time as well. But he in terms of the next week or two, then it's impossible for him to come back just yet.
Yeah, and just about Riley, you mentioned he's not going to be ready again for this weekend. Obviously, it's a second season really where it's, you know, probably been really frustrating for him as much as anyone else that, you know, his injury situation. How is he, and you know, like, what's the thinking behind, you know, all of these kind of long-running injury problems? Yeah,
well, he's had some treatment again this week. He's gone to see someone who had some treatment, and we're hopeful that he'll be back in around it next week. So it's not a long-term thing. We knew at the time it was a small issue, but it's, like you say, it's another kind of small one that's hampered him and hampered us. So we want to get to the bottom of it, and hopefully we have done, and hopefully we'll have him around it this week. That's the plan.
Yeah, is it the plan? I can't say that.
No, it's not. It's not something else. Yeah.
And I guess that makes it more frustrating if there's various different issues. It's not something that is you know, he's
yeah, that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of. If there's something underlying that we can kind of nip in the bud a little bit, that's causing other issues, you know. So without disclosing too much, because I don't think it's right to do that. But yeah, we're hopefully we've done that, and hopefully this week we can have him back around the group.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when he does play, he's a really important player. That's clear when he does get to play. Is there kind of almost a situation now for Riley where he's almost got to kind of get himself playing regularly and almost kind of prove that he is capable of doing that? Because I guess despite how important he is, you've got to have players who you can, you know, rely on to be fit more often than not.
Yeah, listen, of course, a big part of a season and assembling a squad is you're trying to rely on the boys to be fit as long as possible, to give you the choices, get the balance in terms of numbers of how many you need in the squad to start with. Not been easy to predict over the last year or two, but yeah, I mean, there's no extra pressure on Riley from that regard. I think it's taking it as in now and trying to get him back for the end of the season and play a part next week in some way, and then see where that takes us after that, for sure.
You said that about the not winning positions when you scored the first goal. That it's happened too often this season. Why do you think that is? What has been the problem there?
I think it's inconsistencies probably really within the performance. I think in different ways, you know, sometimes the good things we've done, maybe we've stopped doing them, or we haven't done them as well through a game, and or we have drop-offs for 5 or 10 minutes where we don't keep the same level, and when we do that we've ended up conceding goals, and times in games where we've been good for a long spell, then we have a little 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden that changes the course of the game. At the end of the day, it's the you know, I was a midfielder, there's a lot of play between both boxes, and I'm a big fan of trying to get that right, but in the end it comes down to defining moments, both ends of the pitch, and concentration, consistency, all them things that add up to a level of performance over a whole game. We haven't so far because we've still got time to do better. We haven't probably done it for long enough. When we've been good, we've been really good, and we compete, and we should be higher than we are, but then when we haven't been good enough, then we find ourselves exactly where we are now. So it doesn't mean we can't have 2 good games to finish with and show our real true potential. And
that, like, game management, essentially what you're alluding to there, what can you do about that when it's?
Yeah, I think a little bit is feeling it and living it, and then there's a lot of younger players that for this is the kind of the first real hit of maybe expectation from outside to really achieve something, and getting used to that, what it feels like. Sometimes you've got to feel it and go through it to learn a little bit, and how to deal with certain situations. And there's obviously the tactical element that's on me, and changes, and how we do that, how we can affect the game in certain ways like that. Sometimes it's tactical, sometimes it's just a feeling, you know, and that's why it's a joint effort from all of us. And the lads will certainly be better for it, and the experiences is what it's important that we learn from them experiences and put them into practice, really.
Yeah, because you talked there about learning from them, but then you'd also used the phrase like a clean slate. So where's the balance?
No, I mean clean slate in terms of
it's a 2-game shootout.
It's the 2-game shootout. Yeah, I think the experience comes in, and hopefully that'll help us. There's no doubt. I mean, the experience comes with you and travels with you the whole time anyway. And sometimes it's not so positive, sometimes it is, and actually sometimes you learn more when it's not gone to plan. So there's plenty of times it's done that this season, too many times for us, we know that. But as I said, a lot of younger players going through a new experience, and hopefully that'll help them, and help them now initially over these next couple of games, and it'll help them going forward.
Because I know obviously Norwich first, but providing that goes to plan, that Coventry game, high stakes, like the atmosphere there, the emotion that's going to be surrounded, there is going to be an element in that game, isn't it, of controlling all that?
Listen, I hope so. I'm not getting ahead of myself though, but I certainly hope so. We got a result to take care of on Saturday before that, and it literally is that. I know we're saying 2 games and we know what's possible, but really we got to take care of Saturday before anything else.
And with that in mind, like where you are, the fact it's in your hands still, you talked about the positivity, looking at positivity after Monday's game, but do you understand why there has been an element of frustration as well?
We're frustrated, disappointed as a group, quite 100% we are. I think in some ways, because the players have showed certain moments of potential and certain levels of performance in certain games, and it's as the players and us as you know, you get that belief that something bigger can happen, you know, and that's how it should be, really, you know. That's the beauty of it. I think there's obviously the reality a little bit as well, and if there's not a given right, there's no for us to be there, you know. There's playing Norwich and on the weekend, and they're behind us, and in West Brom, and they you know, they're currently behind us, and so to put us, it's not nothing's taken for granted, you know. And I think we need to. I certainly understand how tough it is. Like I just said, over a long period of time, it's not like it's every year. It's playoffs, but now we've not got there. You know, it's something we're all striving for. And as I said, the last 2 years have been pretty stable in terms of league position and where we're at. We've got to make that jump, and at the moment we've got a chance of making that jump. And I think we're building a squad and the players and the experience for that. Hopefully we'll get them ready for that, and hopefully we're ready now. We want to be, we need to be right now this week to make the difference.
Coventry play early on Saturday. You know where this is going. Like, there's no way of ignoring it, is there? And I guess regardless of the result, it either puts the pressure on you to follow them, or it gives you an opportunity to jump in.
I think that honestly, the way for if it was the last game of the season, and then we needed to know what result would finish it. I think it maybe have a little different twist. The fact that as we stand, it's largely in our own hands. I think our sole focus has to be on trying to win the game on Saturday, because if we do that, then you know, we're in a better place, and we're going into the next game regardless of what's happened. So you know, it's not easy. Everyone's going to know the score, of course they are, and the players will end up finding the score, but it doesn't mean that our focus has got to be on that, and we've got to react to that. I think we've got to play the game to try and win the game, and it's the only way. It's the only way, and as I said, because it's in our own hands, and we want to try to take it a week further. A win's what we got to try and get. And
just ask about Tommy. I know obviously he misses a penalty on Monday, but he's really stepped up since Manu. Well, he hasn't stepped up because he was excellent the first half of the season, but you get my point. Since Manu's gone in January, he's been excellent in the second half.
Yeah, he's done well, and again for Tommy, it's a big season. It's new. He's played a lot of football. He's done well. That comes with expectation from himself as well, and it's a hell of a kind of learning curve from changing clubs, and he's adapted unbelievably well. I think earlier on in the season with Manu in particular, the two of them were coming in and out at times, and you know, he dealt with that ever so well, and now he's playing that a little bit longer and more consistent. Listen, penalties can happen and chances can happen. That's life of a number 9. That's life of a centre forward, and he's there largely at pretty much every time to get them more in and around it, and to get chances, and I believe he'll score more than not. So I'm not concerned about that at all.
And it's easy to forget how young he is, I think, because of maybe how many goals he scored.
Same age as Josh. Yeah, I think they're about a month apart between him and Josh. So it's interesting when you look at it like that, because we're guilty. We treat the lads as senior seasoned professionals at times, because you do, and then you take a step back and you've got to realise, you know, where stage of the development, stage of the careers, what help, how we can guide them. So yeah, it's something we've got to take into account. Having said that, when it's all on the line and it's Saturday, it's we're not in this week for development. We're in this week to try and win, you know, and the boys are looking forward to it. They'll thrive off it this week.
And just finally on him, just on Tommy, just from the little snippets we see, it looks like he's a bit of a character, fair to say, behind the scenes as well.
Just a little bit, yeah. Just a little bit, yeah. He's a great character, you know. He cares a lot. Takes a lot on his shoulders. He cares a lot. Desperate to do well, but he's got a great way of going about it. He's bubbling around the place the whole time, and he's just a joy to be around and part of the squad. You want players like that with that personality and the positivity, and that you got to enjoy. You got to smile at times, and you got to enjoy what you do, and he certainly does that, and he's a big part of the group.